Well, welcome back to another episode, and as you can see, we last left this in primer, but it has subsequently been painted, and I made a bit of a pig's ear roll of it, if I'm honest. So you actually join me a bit further on, and what we're going to be doing is sanding this down, and we're going to be getting it ready for some sealer and then some spray paint after that. Now, I've made a few mistakes along the way. I didn't mix it right, I didn't use a filter for that. The pressure wasn't quite right. I was doing the pressure that was reading off the machine, but also without pressing the trigger. So obviously it's a different pressure. And I wasn't cleaning the gun properly either. So those combinations caused it to all clog up, and it was just a mess. So it didn't go down too well, but yeah, you've just seen a little clip of what it looked like. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing is I've been watching even more videos now, and I feel like I'm in a good position to really be able to give this a crack. I've ordered a lot more equipment, a better gun, a pressure regulator at the gun as well, so I'll be able to get a more accurate reading. And yeah, basically going to sand this all down, get it as smooth as a baby's bottom. And I'm also going to prep the top bit as well, because we're going to try and do the sealer all together. Just saves me having to mix constantly. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I've prepped the top now as well. So the bonnet obviously needs sanding down. I'm going to start with quite a low grit on that and that one, and then work my way up. Whereas this one, because it's, well, sort of still at lacquer phase, just going to go straight to 400 and get this sanded down as well.
So with the 400 grit, I got to work. Now, videos I've watched have suggested that sanding down to 400 grit should be more than enough when applying an epoxy sealer, rather than having to run up to around 800 grit when not using it. I started off with the top before moving on to the bonnet, and this was a lot more difficult to sand down with the bad base coat I had laid down. I went through quite a few pads of around 60 grit and worked my way up to 400 grit.
Well, I've just gone over it quite a few times with 120 grit, because there's a lot of sort of base coat getting stuck to the pad. So I've gone through quite a few. As you can see, this is sort of the result. We're getting quite a smooth surface now. So going to go up in the grit, and we're going to go up to, I think we're going to go straight to 400, because it was feeling pretty smooth. Had to keep removing all the sort of old paint as well, little bits sort of just sitting on the bonnet. That was getting stuck in the actual pad. I mean, I have one here, yeah. As you can see, it was just getting stuck to it. So went through quite a few of those in the end, but I think we're getting there now. So just going to go to a brand new 400 pad, and hopefully actually get this looking ready to go. Certainly as smooth as we need it to be for the epoxy sealer. That's looking all right. As you can see, we've got quite a few thin patches down the side here and up the front. So I think having to do this, we're actually going to get a better result than if we'd not done this. But as you can see, the bonnet seemed to reveal a lot of issues that just need straightening out. So that is now flush. Almost looks like a camouflage or something. So yeah, ready to go. Going to get some tack on it, and obviously right before I spray, I'm going to get some tack as well.
And so it was time for the sealer, and having measured it up with 2 parts sealer and 1 part hardener, I put down the first coat. I needed to concentrate, so admittedly I didn't film it, but here's the result. It seemed to lay down a far nicer coat than the base coat previously.
Well, I think I'm getting the hang of it now. The mixing process still needs a bit of work, but as you can see, we've got actually a fairly decent layer down here. Bits of muck just beginning to show themselves. So we'll probably get another coat on this, but obviously just going to let it flash a little bit first.
In the meantime, I laid down the bonnet coat, and you'll see straight away my faux pas. Trying to put into practice the spraying with so many things to think about, I forgot to rest the tubing over my shoulder to stop it from dragging on the sealer. I tried to cover this up, as you see, which didn't really work, but as I'm editing this video now, I have managed to sand it down, and it's no longer noticeable.
Well, not the best first coat. It's okay, we'll probably be able to go over it properly in the second coat, but the compressor seems to be struggling to hold the pressure at 30 psi or 29. It keeps dropping back down to the sort of lower 20s, and I think that's affecting the way it's spraying. It's sort of coming out a bit, well, not as atomized. So I'm going to figure out how to stop that from happening. Maybe I have to stop in between and let it recharge, I'm not too sure, but in the meantime, I'm just going to clean the gun and get ready for another coat.
And on the second coat, you can see how I've now positioned the tubing over my shoulder so it's up and out the way. The coat was far better as a result. After this, I gave the gun a thorough clean to stop any contamination when laying down our colour. I mixed this up using a spoon, lol, to avoid making a mess like I did with the sealer. With a bit of thinner added and the gun loaded up, I went ahead and laid down the first coat on the roof, and this is how it came out.
Well, I've just laid down the first coat on the roof, and to be honest, it looks better on camera. It's a little bit sort of peely to the actually in person. Now I'm sort of drawing this down now. I've cleaned the gun out numerous times. It's been spotless and it's still making that sort of patchy mark like down here. If we can see sort of all these little specks, and I'm beginning to think that's now because of the compressor. I mean, if I sort of show you an example, if I sort of spray it along here and then back along here, by that time it's gone from 30 psi down to 20. That seems to be the highest I can get the PSI at the gun as well. I can't, so I'm not actually even using the adjustment tool on the regulator. I'm just having it completely open. So I've got a feeling that's contributing to a lot of this, is that there's not enough pressure going through to atomize the paint properly. Just to reiterate that point about the compressor, just reminded me, each time I'm loading it up, or each time I've done a couple of sprays and the pressure's dropped right down, I'm having to wait for the pressure gauge to build back up again. It just does, yeah, it just doesn't seem anywhere near powerful enough. I feel like on all the videos I've seen online, they're able to adjust the pressure regulator and that really controls it. Whereas this one, I have to have it completely open just to be able to get up to 30 psi. And well, sure enough, whilst I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I've been doing a bit of reading up, and yeah, 24 litres is nowhere near enough. There's not enough air that's going to be pushed in to create enough pressure. So lesson learnt. So interestingly, just looking at a diagram for the Einhell compressor that I've been using, and it does say for the 25 litre, we're in the light green for our spray gun, which basically indicates we'll run for a short duration, and that is what we've seen. So yeah, question answered. Compressor's bad. Gonna get another one ordered, ready for tomorrow, ready to do that bonnet.
This clip is just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. I'm first waiting for the pressure to build up, and then once the compressor stops making a noise, I lay down 2 rows of paint, and even before finishing, just doing those 2 rows, it's having to kick back up again to try and build the pressure up once more. As I'd already started the roof at this point, I persisted and waited for it to build the pressure every 2 rows, and it did eventually get the job done, but I knew a better compressor would give a far better result. Looking online, without a high enough pressure, there isn't going to be enough atomization, which reduces the size of paint particles. And this is causing the peely finish you see here. The paint particles are just too big, but a better compressor should fix this issue.
Well, it's been a few days now, and we are still waiting for the compressor to arrive for this, so we're going to have to improvise for now. I'll run you through it as I go.
To start with, I wanted to try and flatten out the orange peel that the direct gloss finish had created, so I wet sanded down the surface with 2000 grit. And on that note, thank you for the advice on getting a finer grit for these tasks, as this made my life a whole lot easier. This was the result, and so without further ado, it was time to lay down some of our 2K lacquer.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm shaking the can for about 2 to 3 minutes. I know a lot of you don't like me using the can, but it's I've been pretty impressed with the results I've been getting from these guys. It does look really nice and shiny, and there's not much orange peel as well. So shaking it for about 2 to 3 minutes, getting it ready. And I'm going to go over the tack cloth right before I spray, just to try and get any last bits of dust off that have fallen in the meantime. And yeah, hopefully we should be able to get a nice result with this. I've been shaking this already for a couple of minutes off camera, so I'm going to go over the tack cloth quickly. Get all these last bits of dust out. Alright, now we'll get spraying. Start with this side, come over here. I'm going to do it in sections to make it a little bit easier. Okay.
Having watched so many paint videos, I have seen plenty others achieve great results on their lacquer out of a can. But I'd also learned to do a 50-50 overlap when spraying, and I implemented this here. The spray consistency does leave a lot to be desired, and trust me, all future builds will have lacquer applied with a spray gun, but I had a few of these cans left, so I wanted to use them up.
And to reiterate my point before, I know full well you guys aren't going to enjoy me using the can, but we are waiting on the compressor, and I just know without that compressor we aren't going to get a good finish. So I am going to wait on the bonnet, but the rest of the car I just want to be able to get done. So all we've got to do when that compressor arrives is that bonnet, because obviously time is money and we need to look to get this car ready for auction. So I'm hoping by the end of this week it will be ready. It might mean I might have to buff it out a little bit longer, but I think in the long run that's going to help us get it out a bit quicker by doing this lacquer now with a can. But in future I am going to do lacquer with a spray gun. I'm going to do it properly, but just for this car it's going to be lacquered with a can. Sorry. Well, that's the third coat down now, and to be honest it's already flashing quite nicely. I'm already beginning to get quite a nice shine off the back of that. I am obviously going to polish it, but I'll probably wait till tomorrow, let it really harden for 24 hours or so. But I'm just going to let it dry a little bit longer. Then we're going to take off all this masking. We're going to get the car on the ramp and we're going to start draining the oil and doing all those little tasks as well.
Once the lacquer had been allowed to dry, I then removed the masking, and as you can see, somehow a bit of the sealant paint has managed to get through. Not to worry though, I was able to get the paint out using some nail polish remover, and don't worry, I don't stock this for personal use on my Saturday nights, don't worry, but it's handy to remove the paint that the auction houses put on the windscreens. Once the paint was removed, I just used some sandpaper to get the sealer off. I'm going to be sanding down the headlights in due course anyway before buffing, but that'll be the later date. For now, I can move on with unwrapping the rest of the car, then I could drive the car back onto the lift with my impressive 1000 point turn.
Well, as you would have seen in that clip of me reversing the car back into this space, these lights weren't working. There was a reverse light coming on here, which was good, but not on here. And I've just tried to get these lights to go on, and they're not. So what I'm going to do very quickly, well, firstly, I'll notice this one has an extra bulb on. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one only has 3. So it's missing a bulb, which I think might be our brake light, which would explain why it's not illuminating down here. But yeah, we need to get this indicator working. So I'm going to try and change this bulb with one that we know is working, so the indicator on the other one, and then see if this will light up. If not, we might have a wiring issue.
So I swapped the bulbs over and stuck the hazards on, but again, they wouldn't light. So I took a closer look at the connection and it'd seen better days. I therefore gave it a quick sand down to try and remove the rust, and after a short period of time, it was already looking a lot healthier. I tested the bulb once again, and on this occasion, there was some life.
If you look here, it is trying to light. So I think it's just this connection here isn't very strong, but that's better than we were getting. And I can hear the indicator ticking as if it is working fine. So I've got a feeling we just need to sort this connection out and then we'll be okay.
Having tested all the lights previously, I also knew the right hand side indicator was also out, so I removed this. There's just a latch that holds the whole indicator assembly into the car, and once you release this, it just pops out, and well, you can see here, the bulb was a bust.
Okay, so as you saw, just tested this bulb, it is now bad. So that's good, it's not anything to do with the connection, it's actually the bulb itself. So you need to get 2 of these, because if you remember one of the brake ones, well, I've got it here, it was missing a bulb, so they're all the same size, thankfully. So I'm going to get 2 of these. I'm also going to get some electrical contact cleaner from Halfords. They've got it all in stock, so I'm just going to go get it now. And then, yeah, we'll cut back when I've got it.
Well, I just found this bulb in my drawer. I've got another one as well, but conveniently orange for the indicator. So I'll give it a quick test. There we go, we have an indicator.
Well, I'm now back, and that was a successful shop. We got 2 more of the bulbs that we need. I think we're only going to need 1, but I thought it'd be good to get 2 just in case it turns out there's another bulb we've missed. That's out, and it just saves me another trip. And I'll probably use those bulbs on another vehicle at some point. I've also got the electrical contact cleaner, so this is going to be a good, I'm basically going to spray it around into this point here, into this connection, but then I'm also going to do on the other end as well. I'm also going to spray that down. And then, yeah, I've got some brushes as well. I'm just going to try and agitate the rust and surfaces as well, and just see if we can get this connection back to life a bit. We could see that it was trying its best to work, but obviously if I pushed it in, it would be better. It would shine slightly brighter, ever so slightly. So I'm sure it is an issue with this connection here or on the other end. So we're going to clean them up and then we'll test it out again.
To be totally honest, I wasn't sure if this was going to do anything, but for the sake of a few pounds in kit, it was worth a try. And whilst I was at it, I also fitted the new bulb.
Well, this is looking a lot better than it was now, or at least I think so. Actually looks like it could work. So, well, off camera, as well as doing this side, I've also done the connection in the boots. So, showtime, let's see if it works.
I plugged it back in, turned on the hazards, and hey presto, we had light.
Hey. Well, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that actually worked, but we've got a working bulb.
And jobs are good in. One indicator, repeater, indicator down there. And then, as we know, these ones are working too. Well, super happy with that, and I was not expecting that to work, to be honest. So that's a really good result. On to the next task.
But not before refitting the indicator bulb back into the car, just using the latch to hold it back in place again. With that done, it was time to lift the car up for the next job.
So time to drain that oil again. We now have the new sump plug and washer, so we'll get those fitted as well, and that should stop that leaking. Because if you remember, it looks to be leaking from this sump plug. Doesn't look to be leaking from anywhere else. Obviously I cleaned these bits here, and that's fine. It does look like it's coming from here. So hopefully a new washer and a new sump plug on there will stop that leak. But I've also bought a new oil filter. And this is the one, it's an approved one from Ford that should basically be near enough. Well, we'll do it obviously once the oil is drained. We're gonna then take the old one out, put this one in. And there wasn't really any reason I didn't do this before other than I forgot. So I've remembered it now and we're gonna get it fit.
To drain the oil, of course, it's just a case of removing the sump plug, and considering this is only the second time I've done it, I felt this was pretty clean. I then left it for 10 to 15 minutes or so to fully drain out. Whilst the oil was draining from the sump, I also took the opportunity to take out the old filter, which took a fair bit of force. It shouldn't be this difficult to remove, but this is probably a sign of how old the filter was. I got there in the end though. I used some oil from the old filter to rub onto the new filter, just to prevent the gasket from sticking or causing an oil leak. Fitting the new filter, I was sure to just hand tighten it down, as I read that's all you need to do before also installing the new sump plug and washer. Now I can bring the car back down and fill the sump back up with the oil. I'm using the same oil again because I swapped the oil out a couple of episodes ago, as you might have seen, and I've done precisely 0 miles since then. With the oil back in the car, I checked the oil level and all was good under the hood.
Well, that now all looks good to me. So we're going to leave it overnight and we're going to let it, just see if the leak is still occurring. Obviously got a new filter on there now, so we'll need to run that in a little bit. But we've got through the task we needed to get through today. It's off to the mechanic tomorrow. Cam belt, brake pads. That's going to be great to be able to have that done as well. Should help when it comes to auctioning this car. And yeah, I guess that kind of brings us to where we're going to end now. And so you're going to have to wait till next time to see the result of the bonnet. I'm also going to redo the boot because it's just not as good as the roof. The roof looks a lot better. So I'm going to redo that as well. So when this goes to the mechanic tomorrow, hopefully I can just take the bonnet off and the boot and we get it done properly. And there's going to be no worry about paint going everywhere as well. The compressor finally arrived this afternoon. So yeah, you'll have to wait for the next episode to see how that goes, but hopefully we should get all that sorted in the next episode, plus an MOT test. So be sure to check us out very soon. But for now, thank you as ever for watching. Really do appreciate it. To my subscribers as well, thank you. And if you're new, do hit that red button down below. And I'll see you later this week. Cheers now. Bye bye.